Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Now, I thought it's been a while since I've done any stats videos, so I thought I'd rectify that today and start off a new series of Power of 10 and runbritainrankings.com insights. Both those sites I of course run, if you didn't know that. So I thought the obvious thing to do today would be in the first one is to look at pre and post lockdown stats to see how the participation rates have changed from sort of 2019, early 2020 through to this year. So this first graph here is the total number of performances per month across all types of surface. That would be road, track, park run, cross country, even a bit of fell and stuff like that. Now you can see here, it's starting here in January 2018, going right over to the current time, August 2021. So you can see broadly that each month we're getting up towards 1 million performances per month in the UK, and it sort of peaked here in about spring 2019, another peak just after Christmas in 2020, and obviously then it fell off a cliff when lockdown. We literally went to 0 performances in April, and then towards the end of the summer a few little races started to happen, quite a few on the track actually, and then we went to another lockdown. They died off again. And then slowly as we came out of lockdown, they started to rise. And when parkrun started, we began to make a bit of a recovery. Now, as you see here, that as of August, the number of performances hasn't quite yet reached what it was in pre-lockdown. So we'll examine that in a bit more detail in the next graph. So this is a similar graph to the last one from 2018 to 2021, number of UK performances per month. But this time I've broken it down into parkrun in green, we've got road races in grey, and track and field performances in red. Now there's also cross country and fell and multi-terrain, but they don't make up a huge amount, so I thought I'll just stick to these 3 major ones. Now you can see first of all that the big takeaway just generally is how much more parkrun performances there are than anything else. And then road and track, it's a bit seasonal, so in the sort of early summer, May and June, when there's quite a lot of schools performances, the number of track performances tends to just outnumber the number of road performances. And road is also quite cyclic, with a peak in sort of the spring marathons and half marathon season, and again in the autumn for the same reason, and they kind of drop off in the middle a bit. But you can see that throughout the year, parkrun has considerably more performances than the others. And we're talking on a scale here, hovering around the 100,000 mark there, going up to a peak of maybe 300,000, whereas parkrun is kind of steady at least 500,000 per month, and even goes up to almost 1 million per month there around about Christmas time in 2020. As you can see, the complete fall off of performances when lockdown started, and then it was only a bit of recovery in the late summer, and in fact then the track performances were the most. But as you can see, even with that, then they were less than they were previously. And then this summer track has kind of started up again. It hasn't quite reached the number of performance levels that it did in the summer of 2019. The lines there are still lower. Road races are now starting up again, and when parkrun started, obviously we had this big shoot up. But as I said before, the number of performances so far hasn't quite reached the levels that it was in 2019, but it's kind of on a similar par to what it was in 2018. So in this one we examine the parkrun performances in a bit more detail, and this time I've done it per week. Now the blue line here is the raw number of performances in the UK per week, and you can see that you get the most performances around Christmas time, when you get the Christmas Day run, and also you get the opportunity, or did get the opportunity, should we say, to run twice on New Year's Day. I think they've now stopped that idea. But anyway, you do get more opportunities to run around that time. So it had a huge peak there. We had over 350,000 performances in the UK literally in 1 week there in 2020. And you can see that the number of parkrun performances in 2019 was considerably higher than it was in 2018. This dashed line is a percentage of the performances in that week compared to the same week in 2019, so that's why there's no 2019 graph. So that's using the scale on the right hand side here. So the 100% line is there, so that means if it had the same number of performances as it did in 2019. So you can see that on this percentage graph it's kind of below the level in 2018, and then it went actually a bit higher than it in 2020 just before lockdown. And if you come back to when parkrun started in the UK, we haven't quite yet reached the 2019 levels. So very similar to how it was about 3 years ago in 2018, the levels. But I imagine those levels will start to creep up now. If we do this analysis in a few months' time, no reason to think that the parkrun performances won't have increased again. I mean, personally, I haven't even done a parkrun myself yet, so I'm one less data point in there. It's partly because I've been doing so many track races that I just haven't had time to fit one in yet. And also, if we look at the instead of performances, we look at the number of actual athletes. So the green line here is the number of unique park runners per month in these timescales, and similar with road and track. Bit of a caveat with the road and track, these only the athletes we've identified. We do try to identify the majority of athletes, but there are some people that we just can't put to a profile. So the actual number of these athletes will be slightly higher than is shown here. But again, it's showing that there's considerably more park runners than there are road and track athletes. We're talking around about 300,000 unique park runners per month. And again, very similar pattern here. You see the number of unique park runners so far is still a bit down on what it was in 2019, but is on a very similar scale to 2018. So it kind of shows that the people who are doing park runs are doing them in the same quantities, because the graph here of athletes or park runners is very similar to the actual number of raw performances. So have you done a park run yet? Have you done any road races? Have you done any track races? Obviously, track is still a bit of a niche thing, and in my old age, I'm sort of chasing the kids these days, but there aren't too many of us doing it. But I still do enjoy it, and if you've seen some of my race videos, I'm still doing okay. Wish I could run a bit faster, but the old legs aren't carrying me quite as well as they used to be. I did a race on Wednesday that I'll put out another video for soon. It'll probably be my last race this summer on the track, and I need to decide now whether I can actually get around the London Marathon in a few weeks' time, whether it's actually worth me doing that. So I'll maybe do a couple of weeks of longer runs to see whether I've got it in the legs or the appetite. So I hope you enjoyed this little insight into the participation rates pre and post lockdown. It seems like things are starting to pick up again, back to some sort of normality. Certainly the number of park runners has jumped up back from obviously literally zero. So I hope you found this interesting. Look forward to seeing the next one then. Bye.